What's up guys, Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids, and today we're looking at the Condor Stratos. So cool knife, I got this from Joe Flowers out at SHOT Show 2016, and my buddy Brendan's going to be helping us out with this video. So let's hear from him some of the specs and details on this knife.
So the Condor Stratos, we're going to have a walnut handle here. It's really nice and smooth, easy to hold, really good fit and finish here. Your blade's going to be about 5 inches. The total length is going to be 10.5. It's got a really nice leather sheath. Fits in really nice. I like it because it's nice and high up here on the blade. It's not going to fall out. You're going to have 1075 high carbon steel, Scandi grind, nice blade, really good satin finish on it as well. It's a really solid blade. You're going to get it for about $40 to $55, $60 on most sources, most sites. So as I talked about a little bit earlier, I really like the sheath. It's solid. I like how high it goes on the knife. I like how high it rides. I'm not a huge fan of danglers. So I like how high it rides on you. You make sure you know it's there. It's easy to get out, but also notice that it has good retention on it, so it's not going to fall out. And other than that, it's really nice leather. Condor did a really good job on the sheath, and I really like it as a factory sheath. One thing I want to talk about was the belly right here up at the tip, and then going down through here. It makes it really nice for the feather sticks, is what I found, which is the case in a lot of knives. It's not super good for stabbing. They have this swedge on here, which helps, but with the belly being up, this thick, up this high, it really helps for cutting.
All right, we're going to work on some batoning with the Stratos now. And that is oak that Brendan's working through right now.
Nice big knot right here.
Does that feel like it's due to the wood, just the hardness of the wood, as far as how slow it's going through? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I think it's kind of wet too.
Okay.
So it's holding it up a little bit.
So one thing about a swedge is that once you get into the wood, it's at least usually a little bit less of a drag if that portion of the knife is going through. So because the swedge is so far to the front, it's not going to make a huge difference if it was there or not there in relation to batoning. But just a little bit less drag, a little bit less resistance than if you had something that had no swedge and you were batoning up at that section of the knife. So there's some wood we baton. Seemed to work quite well, and those first couple pieces of wood, Brendan said it was mostly because it's just the knots in the wood, so no issues with the knife. So I did a bunch of feather sticking with the Stratos, and here's what we got. So definitely did the job. The drier the wood, the better. It's just overall going to make better feathers if the wood's not moist and or damp. But this did a good job, and I would say as soon as my buddy Brendan picked it up and started using it, compared to another knife we were using at the same time, he said this thing really bites in. You can just feel that as you're doing some of that more detail work. The handle is comfortable. I would say it's probably medium going to large size, and you can feel that when you're actually doing more of this detail work like feather sticking.
So far we've done some batoning. We also did some feather sticking. I'm just going to do a little bit of detail work here. I already made a few notches right here. I'm just going to make another quick one just to show you guys how it goes. One thing we did notice, Tim and I, was when you use the swedge, it's definitely, it's not comfortable. It's not horrible, but it's not your best place to put your finger, basically. So I found if you're going to use the push, or use any type of pushing, put it right here on the spine. So just make a quick notch here. This is something I would use for maybe like a figure 4, something like that. Just a quick little notch.
All right, so there's a look at your notch, and then just move the wood side to side just so people can see all the other notches too. Yeah, so all that work done by the Stratos.
So obviously something like this isn't really designed for chopping. It has these nice walnut handles which are pretty smooth, so you really gotta, grip yourself on it. If you had some paracord or something like that, it would definitely make it easier. But I mean, it's doing pretty good. for a knife this size.
And this is oak. This is basically the lower part of the tree that we've been using for other tests.
Yeah, but not bad. I'm feeling a little bit of slippage, but get that. What I'm seeing right now though is we talked about earlier, is it has really good bite to it. I mean, even going like this, I can feel it just gripping into the tree. So.
Here's a look at the log. So in about probably 2 minutes of chopping, that's what was accomplished. Pretty impressive. Definitely a lanyard with paracord or something like that would make it more effective so it wasn't slipping out of your hands, but it got the job done.
So overall, I really like this knife. One of my favorite things about it is the handles. They're a little bit small, but they're not too small for my hand. There you go. They're not too small for my hand. They're really smooth. I would call them bushcrafting handles. It's a bushcrafting knife, I would call it. I like the swedge. It makes stabbing easier, but it does have, as I talked about before, it does have this belly right here, so it makes it a little bit weird on stabbing, just because it, as other knives have like less belly, it makes it a better point, obviously. But great steel, as I talked about a lot of times. I love the Scandi grind. It's one of my favorite types of grinds on a knife. Overall, it's really solid. It has a good spine for striking a ferro rod. Overall, I would definitely say it's a solid knife for bushcrafting. I give it, for grip, 8 out of 10 on comfortability scale, that type of stuff. I've definitely held more comfortable knives, definitely held less comfortable knives. But I think for my hand size, which is about a large in mechanics, it's definitely a solid size for your hand.
I agree. Yeah, I mean the swedge on top. I'll contact Joe Flowers and maybe I'll put a note in here, an annotation about like what he says about what the thought is behind that. I could take it or leave it. It's kind of a cool addition to the knife. Price point's really reasonable. I think over at Knife Center it was like $39 or $33.
$30 or $40,
so
yeah.
it's really, really reasonable for what you're getting. 1075 steel. A lot of people prefer 1095 for their bushcraft or their outdoor knives, but 1075 is good. I have heard other people have issues with like the Condor bush lore as far as the edges rolling. We've worked this thing pretty hard and no issues whatsoever on the edge. It is a bit beefier than the bush lore, so I think that's probably why. There is, if you can hold the handle up just a little bit more, you could see you've got that tubing for, it looks like it's probably brass tubing for the for your lanyard, which would be cool. Nice little addition. So the handle for me, a little bit small, but definitely not terrible. I was using this, and then kind of my standard as far as a knife that I like the size of the handle is the Rat 5, the Rat 7. And I was using both of them back and forth, and pretty much, I would say, very equivalent as far as comfortability. That one is not as rounded as this one is, so this one I found to be much more comfortable in my hand when I was working on Feather 6 and stuff. When I talked to Joe Flowers from Condor out at SHOT Show, he was like, hey, can you check this out and review it, because there's not a lot of information out there on this knife. So I'm glad I've had a chance to test it out. If you like the style of this knife, as far as function, definitely it did the job. It got everything accomplished. So check it out, Condor Stratos. Put links down below if you want to purchase it. And thanks for watching the video. More videos coming soon. Later.
Peace.